그래. 또 드려야 예매게 로사하게 돼도와 드리.
Los sagrare.
거기 아주 집안 높초배 로사데 다 진사스러워.
Lorela.
드리 안에 아주 로티 최세제님만 당부 들어와라. 다들
Los.
최세제 당부 들한테 대다다네 정말 삼지트시들 이슈 안에 어떻게 다들로 아주 로디나라 안에 제 냠레치에디 야보요하게 소소게 몰람 겹으로와
Los.
대야 대 어, 근데 직접 아와두세 되네 근데 다티시에 드리시에 등에 로전 세계 마시나 삼성아 타카이스는 로전 세계 마티야 가서 내가 미사와치 고용기를 스타트한테 제가고 미사와라 디스 당번에 고때부터 오자 되지 마셔봐야냐 차고라고 다 되시야 봐야 건조 심라 마파나 야고요 말 어두세
Okay, so first of all, good afternoon to everyone. And today's actually falls the Chinese New Year. So the Western New Year is over, but actually in terms of for the Chinese New Year, this is the first day of the new year. And so it's a good day for our first day of teachings, and we should make prayers and aspirations for to practice Dharma well this year. And then in terms of our topic of explanation, I was thinking of the explanations on the 8 verses. At a previous time, there was a new student coming this afternoon. And if we start with a very complex topic, it can be difficult to understand or difficult for them to understand. Los.
Tu se ta de mashilo ju te yema te tang tsar ma mo she yore ta kiran zu ma che ta ta pe yang jo do ko te de ya ka she chi chi na nyu ya do si si re ka she la ya yema ko sha ge de la yang jo this things sab du khya te de yung re ta na so yung si ba
Los.
na so yung si re o tu se re ta chi ta ne ta lo ju si ge ma de ta ka chi ta chi na ta mi sam le chi ka bo che chi 이만치와 가오치에 직로조지를 되어봐 두세 다대지면 소네 딱지다 자주 심 덤베다 마치래 걸어와 두세.
Okay, so I have explained the commentary of the 8 verses many times, but people can have different reactions. For some people, hearing it again and again, they might feel a bit kind of sleepy because it's something they've heard before, and there are others that by hearing it again feel their understanding becomes deeper. And so that kind of different people feel, experience it different ways. But most people have an appreciation, a liking for this 8 verses, which is one of the mind training texts, and its principal purpose is its relationship to bodhicitta, the spirit of enlightenment.
Dhamma Geshe Dhonam Reta tampote si tampote tane simje tamjela tadi tane simje tamjela ishindo wala la tencho te sambaye tatu chepar simba tanta tunzo si de tele sho se ro sto tanda ngazu ne china amo kishilarin taba khorangi sundu wala shonsa malwa gom sechorwa
Oh,
ta
yes.
je shino tunjuru tatu chebatsu simbar gom ani si mata gom shada yorwa ta
Yes.
chisu ta anzo pobatsu ge ta tene pechi chi dum manta khane dende so ta gi cheto sodib cheji do ani sene secure tene chire do shida ta gom goya chawrwa
Yes.
Ola gyawa tsama yinpa suzu ki nyamle shine kom kyamne samla tani ko semya ki tangwa chagora otu sirwa.
Yes. Yeah, the Girtan there I will learn the NG Dinajin Girsan.
Tata yu dhammi na yu sare te pinche.
Right. Okay, so 8 verses. It is, in terms of bodhicitta, it doesn't fit in a particular order in the cultivation of bodhicitta. It is a general advice, but one that we definitely need. It is a technique to subdue one's own mind and a very important practice advice. And then we have the first verse: with a determination to accomplish the highest welfare for all sentient beings who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. And so this I will learn, there's 2 versions in the Tibetan, when they two versions of the Tibetan where this term, when Langri Tama originally wrote it, it said I will meditate or train, and I think that's what's been translated as will learn here. And other versions of the Tibetan versions is may I hold them supremely dear. So the may is then an expression like a prayer or an aspiration and a request to be able to do the practice.
Otu sire tade tatsi tambude tani simje tamchile shine ule la be tunjun de besame tatu chebar seba sho sede da ta tanda de pe tanda chikya chimbu do jirwa ta kanje tanda ngaranzo tanda tarba mate be kap khowala khor shimbe kap ki naida amaombala tarba zam tobe ye naida an tele la be tarba cho ta sanje kompa toba ye naida o digi de la digi de la ne digi de kowe na la deba yo towa dewa digi de la ane tarbe dewa ta sanje kompa dewa digi de sama semje la tene yungo re sirwa
Yes.
semje la tene yungo re te suza a semje la jebar simba sho ta tunda dire ta tunda durdu chichena durstu sir.
Yes. Okay, so this first verse: with a determination to accomplish the highest welfare for all sentient beings who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear, or may I hold them supremely dear. This is actually a very vast meaning. If we consider this, for those of us who have not yet attained liberation, who are cycling within cyclic existence, or even if one has merely attained liberation or beyond that, attained the supreme liberation of Buddhahood, whether it is the happiness of cyclic existence, the bliss of liberation, or the bliss of Buddhahood, these all arise in dependence on sentient beings. And seeing this, therefore, the brief meaning is this: may I learn to, or I will learn to hold them supremely dear.
Ata tere ta kanje kanda randa shen samal chik dewa yuwa di shen chebar zimbala tene ta yungu doos shen chebar zimbala tene yungu yor te suda simje tamche la pa yawa matawa shene ta chebar zimbala sho se aro shirwa ta
Yes.
di pa deshe desi kya tam jana khayi sana ngan kya tam kya gena aranzo pena kowa tanda kowa kowe kawla se de la milieu toya pena dendu dendu lute tobyare tene dendu lute tobati tenla chik sereng bo se atawata ne me pa se atawata ne dis nywa se atawata kanje ji kinor penjor tun zo aus ya ta jo yong se atawata ta chi to wata de chi ko na pusum so pa de ye de sama gyud ta chida ne ka gi gyuda ko gen the ma te yong ba
Yes.
ane sabe gyu kawala tine chungwasana kiawa nga me le chila tine chungwarwa.
Yes.
Le tere le, kande chungwasana le gewe le chikla tine tu chungwaya chi chago yore. Ta gewe le di taga te chi simchen shen dar dewa yoba chine, simchen shen la chi kulong sangpo chi tang, shen la chi kulong sangpo chi tang chi roa chi ala sobare, ta chi shen la nopa ma chi ala so, nopa kaya ala sopa tang, ta chi pa shenki norma choya la sopa tang, ta chik tuwa cha, ta oda tus, ta de deshe jena mabu keba korwa ta tusi na, o
Yes.
tusi, dige de la tene ko, tanda nga zu kowa kabe kabla, dende lu tobe ane, sonde sidi la chik, pusum sopa la sopa kande, kare yabu yungu chungu tuna, dige de tsama, ane, semjen la tene yungu tusirwa, rwa
Yes.
semji shensi tele. Kasa tetsu za ane, tenzu la chebra zimashu, tanda chik tusi yungu churwa, ho tusi.
Yes. Okay. So that for both self and others, all happiness that arises in dependence on cherishing others. And seeing this, therefore, we determine not to be indifferent to other sentient beings, but to cherish them. If we look at this in more detail, that when we are circling within cyclic existence, that the human life that we have in this life, having a happy rebirth, and then on top of that, physical body, that our long life, our freedom from sickness or having few illnesses, having good resources and prosperity, whatever excellence of our life that we have, that that if we look at the causes of that, while there may be kind of immediate temporary conditions that produce it, that are met or not met, that there are temporary conditions that are met or not met. If we look more profoundly, this comes from karmic action in previous lives, and specifically virtuous action in previous lives that has given rise to these things. And those virtuous karmic actions are all created in relationship to other sentient beings. So good motivation as regards other sentient beings, benefiting other sentient beings, not harming other sentient beings, not stealing from other sentient beings. There are many aspects of this good that can be explained, but in general, while in cyclic existence, all that goes well in this life and having a happy rebirth arises in dependence on other sentient beings, and therefore we determine to hold them supremely dear.
te nambe shune tal, lende korshidu wala, le mache pata mite pasi yuwa, le kechu
Yes.
china, le mache pata mite pasi, sidi dedo karita uchina yiko, kiawa nga me lela tene chunga chikita, gyu pa tso tena ta, chi, wata lela tene tus, shaku chikirwa rwa le tale, neka wiki kienda wata, kota tema tene yungwa tusi,
Yes.
le mache pata mite pasi yuwa, pena sidi la nga zo, dunga dawa kange mangbo chi chay diga yu na ku kiawa nga me le chi da dewa tende yu ki. Watu se 또 사대와 세들라 양치 무슨 소파 샤보 중대네 개와가면 레 상부치다 대바도 와텔라테는 저 아유도 스투데 걸와 어떻습니까?
Yes.
유 게임 레 게임에게 세이데 아니 가서 렌데 남샬 마시도라 어 가보 계획 가서 계획 개발 주되게 돼 사마 직골롱 두자 지켜내 시엔라지 수수치 보고 된다 골롱 키네 시엔라 삼로 마타네 직체 샤바샤다 알테네 아 메기벨레 사디아 야치 수수 다우징게라 삼네 수수 때 파조들 삼로타네 섬신 샤발라 삼로타네 제 골롱 상부치네 제샤교이나 아니 개벨레 차디아 어두스 도이와
Yes.
마타두스
Yes. Okay. So that in terms of these explanations, they are called with the explanations in Buddhist texts on action and effect, karmic action and effect. And in terms of the characteristics of karmic action, that if one does not create the action, one does not meet with the result, so that whatever happiness or suffering arises, that it links back to previous life karmic action, so that the principal causes is this connection to karmic actions, that there are the temporary or short-term conditions that arise that are factors, but its principal cause is previous life karmic action. So in this life, whatever suffering or difficulties we meet links back to previous lives karmic actions, and whatever good fortune and excellence arises also links back to fortunate karmic action from previous life. So that when we explain the aspects of karmic action and effect, we have the virtuous causes and non-virtuous causes, and the white or virtuous causes, light or virtuous causes of the 10 virtues, that that when we create any of the 10 actions with a bad motivation focused only on one's own selfish, egocentric motivation, not having any concern for others, then we create non-virtuous actions. And whereas when we generate a mind that is concerned for others and thus generate a good motivation, through that we create a virtuous action.
또 세다 코 단단하죠 코에 날라 지당하죠 단단하죠 개가 나치기 개와 지레 티가라지 가와다 나발라 수바다 도가 망부치 용데 거디 이네 데데라 콘 내갑기 대와 고 사체기 대와 직디스 요르바 어떻게 돼 코에 나게 사체기 대와 직디스 지요되게 다마고 유개벨레 라틴이 좀 개벨레 되게 돼야 심지 그랑레시베 심지 시엔라 직배지 고론 펜스 야보지 전에 직 선바 상보지 전에 제대발라 되네 되네 계기와 되게 돼다 선바 상보지 계고 계데 다 심지라서 심지 담질라 아니 이신노부터 보시나 그 세대라 제가 저제 세대라 마도지 그 겨워지 말라 펜토요 말와 세대라 지그 교노 론초토가 야고 총대라 마도 겨워지 말라 펜토 단단히 아 샘젤라 같이 지 펜스라 소바치네 지 야보지 제바이나 아니 세돌라 텔레 틴데 레가야 보체바이나 세멜라 트리부트데야 아니 개와 제말라양코 메트니 개와 망볼로 트데야 개와 망볼로 티티보 데바 중데야 세와 당한조 렌데게 남샤시도와 아니 레페체와 세와 레페체와 세와 레 춘춘 게벨레나다 메게벨레나다 추추 사바이나이코 디기 제부 세데 세멜라이 민초레 개와 제말라다 개와 제마 망볼로 민초로 봐 민초레 페네 소쇼기 레토 춘춘 소쇼 밤베 게벨레토 춘춘 제바이나 디기 kewa mangpo la ni dendri milu tobya milu dendri kwa nangi dendri milu tobya ki dendri le mangpo sadama tate derwa karso tachi hang sanya dhawa chirwa.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so that in this life, while we're within cyclic existence, we experience, having taken birth, then we have the experiences of aging and sickness, and many of these experiences arise. But within this, we also have temporary contaminated happinesses, and all of those contaminated happinesses arise from a virtuous karma. And that virtuous karma rises in dependence on other sentient beings when we generate the mind to benefit them. When we generate a good heart, from that virtuous karma arises. That from that condition of a good heart, it arises towards other sentient beings. Thus, other sentient beings are like a wish-fulfilling jewel. Even if one had an actual wish-fulfilling jewel, it would only benefit one's material resources and wealth in this life. It would not be of any benefit for future lives. But in terms of sentient beings, it's thought to benefit them, that having a good heart towards them, think to benefit them. This can benefit in this life, that positive actions created in the earlier part of this life may ripen in the latter part of this life, can benefit one in the next future life, and then from many lifetimes it can bring about happiness over many, many lifetimes. So that when we explain karmic action and effect, karmic action also has a quality of increase. So even a small action, a small virtuous action or a small non-virtuous action, can bring a result that, again, may ripen in the latter part of this life. It can ripen in one future life or over many lifetimes. So, for example, a small action of not killing, the small action, the virtuous action of not killing other sentient being, that can bring happy rebirths over many lifetimes, and it's actually quite extraordinary when we think about it.
Pusun sopa longche yung de dhana shingita mikiwe chola chikparwa yang nganzo chi mikiwe chola le chepa ina socho machimbele mikiwe la sopa ta tine le mongpa chini tige kiwa chingpa mongpo la nganzo kange che te shungurwa rwa koto kire ta kanche tu sewa ta tere te tena sopa re ta kanche nganzo kora kube kaptu la kanche 내가 같이 대화도 가르도 대화 무슨 소바 가르도 이게 다 심전에 때문에 중국 두세 대직제 와 근데 다 되게는 되잖아 먼저 탈바톱 써야죠 와 코아반에 탈바톱 써야죠 와 코아반에 탈바톱 톱을 제발라야 고심 다야 대한 심전라라래 두세 와 심전에 때문에 중국 두세 다디 대시 this things substone 코아반에 탈바토발라 가르스나 라말라바 숨라냠네 체고야레 수르비게 라바냠네 체고야레 디갈라 띵이띵이 라바냠네 체고야레 샤르비게 라바 체고야레 간제 띵이띵이 라바다 수르비 띵이띵이 라바다 샤르비게 라바니 냠네 체발랑고도 수르비게 라바냠네 체고와 수르 송고야레 수르 쏴야데 셰라노바 시드 체발라 로바바지 셈자테 수르임데야스 수tum 송사기 시대야 샘제래 되어와 샘제 수tum을 샘제라지 남의 단에 지게 되는 고수tum 송에 걸어요 그 말봐 이거 걸으면 되는 다 제가 타바토발라 싸다야 고수tum 쏴야 샘제를 때내 라래요 대야 타바토야 대야 샘제를 때내 라래 또 됐다 샘제를 집을 생고도 세트시래
Yes. Okay. And so similarly, if we create non-virtuous actions such as stealing from others or sexual misconduct and so on, they can bring us many difficulties of many lifetimes. And so the main point being that even within the time of cycling, within cyclic existence, whatever happiness and excellences arise, they arise independent on other sentient beings. And then further, if we then look at the attainment of liberation and the abandonment of cyclic existence, that also depends on sentient beings. So this takes a kind of a deeper look at this, so that to attain liberation and abandon cyclic existence, we must cultivate the three higher trainings. So the higher training in ethics, higher training of concentration, and higher training of wisdom. So the higher training of wisdom and concentration depend on the prior training in the higher training of ethics. And the ethical restraints is restraining from harming others, so that the very basis of one's ethical practices is sentient beings. That if we were indifferent to sentient beings, we would not be able to give rise to ethical practices. So that even the attainment of liberation at its kind of fundamental root, at its basis, it arises from ethics, and the practice of ethics depends on other sentient beings, and therefore seeing this, we cherish other sentient beings.
어두스 다 때네 다 산지게 콤판세지 산지게 콤판세 토베데 다 셈젤라라 레버세데 다티 세부도 상아도
Yes.
저놈 요코뉴게도 좀 택바치게 저코뉴게도 좀 다티 세부도 지와
Yes.
다 산지게 콤판세야 되고 산지게 콤판게 산지게 콤판세데 고 규조직다 잔주 셈레 되어와
Yes.
잔주기 셈기 다데 닝제레 되어와
Yes.
다 닝제데 셈제레 닝제 지내고 잔주기 셈 깨고래 잔주기 셈 대다냠도 다 돈이도 별로도 다 발진 시바토로 발진 둘러서 버렸다 다도 돈에 시바sam이나 잔주기 셈다 닝제제 안데가라 발진 투기 냠레 제발라테네 산제 콤판투 되지레 되와
Yes.
다티 잔주 셈다 닝제도 다베 셈젤레 닝제 콤세다 다고 세버서로 닝제 다세 셈젤레 닝제 교마션 도단 차다 되버지 쪼제다 닝제 계속 닝제 열 말와
Yes.
닝제 계속 셈제시 동하게 나베 셈젤레 미네 닝제 계월 봐더라 좋아 두스라
Yes.
제산도 주시래 다다나 신기 파르지 도나네 젠바 수tum 소바 준드 준드 다 시다시야 바시 심바레 수tum레 소바레 소바 코미야레 아네 단 삼대데 샤르부도 사와 수tum 토이와 다 예시야 지바와
Yes.
아데 가게 되게 돼 사마 셈젤라테네 중국에 봐도 또 샤데 또 세우지
Yes. Okay. And then the attainment of Buddhahood, that also depends on sentient beings. And for those of you familiar with Dharma and the Mahayana Dharma, this will be very clear, that the principal cause of Buddhahood is bodhicitta, the spirit of enlightenment. And the root of bodhicitta is compassion. And through compassion, one gives rise to bodhicitta, the spirit of enlightenment, and then cultivates the six perfections if we're looking at the sutric explanations. So we have compassion and bodhicitta and the six perfections to bring about the attainment of enlightenment. So if we think of compassion, which causes bodhicitta, compassion is generated in dependence on other sentient beings. The focus or the object of compassion is a sentient being who is experiencing suffering. So things like stones or cliffs or tables are not objects of compassion. And then similarly with the six perfections, generosity, ethics, patience, joyous effort, and the joyous effort is not so explained in this context so much, but generosity, ethics, patience, and then, as before, concentration and wisdom. Practice of concentration and wisdom depend on the foundation of ethics. And so all of these things are practiced in dependence on sentient beings, and we can see that very clearly.
Otus tatade semje yawar thone rwa.
Yes.
Semje yawar thone te sanje komba ta dosho ne te sanje komba twe kora. Sawa ni me do hyo mare.
Yes.
Atena nga ge ne she yodu kola ta nga ge nyamle so te ta dirwa ta. Kirim ta zorim se dirwa ta.
Yes.
Kirim ta zorim ge nyamle chawala ko zawa chanchu ki se me na chanchu ki se na kirim ta zorim ko nyamle chesa kora draya kora yo marwa.
Yes.
Nyamle kora chesa ki shi kora yo mare. Ko nyamle chesa shi yo mare. Nyamle che gobe gyunsen kora yo mare. Wa kirim
Yes.
ta na karsa chanchu ki na chanchu se me na kirim ta zorim nyamle che gobe gyunsen kora yo mare. Pa ranko ne tundu tarpa toya chi tundu yege tarpa tsam toya ge tundu yin dro shamada sanje kumba kare goya kora yo marwa.
Yes.
Odu sir ta che te ta chanchu se la ra le go te so ota kanje ta dur duna dire ta nega khoro khabe khaptu la ngu dewa khusum soba khande do china ye semjen la ra le do an tarpa tsam thoba la ya ko sanje kumba pasha ne tarpa tsam thoba la ya ko semjen la pe 제발 마지막에 심지어 야와 돈나 거는 유명한 거는 민도로와
Yes.
아니 대가라 다 산지의 공파 근데 산지의 공파 토발에 텔레기아다 심지어라 라레도 됐어 심지어 탐지라 안에 제발 심바 쇼 제발 심바 공사데 다 돈다 디르다
Yes. Yes. So that from the sutric point of view, if one was indifferent to sentient beings, one does not have the means to accomplish Buddhahood. And then if we look at it from the tantric point of view, so the essence of Tantra are the two stages of generation stage and completion stage, that to practice these two stages, this depends on bodhicitta, the spirit of enlightenment. Without that, there is no basis for cultivating the generation and completion stages. There is no need to practice these two stages without bodhicitta, that it would be enough to simply seek to attain liberation for oneself alone. One doesn't need to attain Buddhahood if one lacks bodhicitta as a motivation. So all these attainments principally depend on sentient beings. So in brief, at the time within cyclic existence, whatever happiness and excellences are attained, these arise in dependence on sentient being. And then putting aside Buddhahood, even the mere attainment of liberation depends on sentient beings. If one was indifferent to sentient beings and have unconcerned about them, one would not attain liberation. And then to attain Buddhahood, even more strongly, this is dependent on sentient beings, and therefore, seeing this, we determine that one aspires to cherish, may one come to cherish them, may one meditate and train in cherishing them.
강사 되게 됐잖아. 되게 될 셈센스와 산지 공부 맞게 다준비되고 공부 톱되요나야 고 탈바 톱되요나야 탈바쌈 톱되요나야 고 셈제래도 단다 산기요 말와 와 어다 셈제 탐제라 봐야 또 잠바다니 이제 다 둘라 자와다 공고래서 보시러 다 그랬다 때마다 지금야 셈제 남겨가는 셈제 수소 수준이 거래요 봐 수수 농바치 받아 바이치 받아 되게 수수 계급지 받아 다 도와도 맞지 지금 봐줘 잠벌링 시행을 받아 지 수수니 거래 많이 받아 지 Pinche Maya Patalumba Chiba Mamba Tigetelape, Tanda Samjeta Mi Maya Bayachi, Businda Tondola Soba Tonzola Pe, Niji Magomba Tembayana Quatiti Marwa Temarwa.
Yes.
Definitely, Telepai, your chair, your Marwa, or
Yes. Okay, so then here it also says all sentient beings, so that sentient beings refers to all beings other than those who have attained enlightenment. So sentient being refers to those beings who are not yet have any attainments on the path. It refers to those who, even though who have merely attained liberation or the state of a foe destroyer, if one is not a Buddha, one is a sentient being. And so therefore one cultivates love and compassion towards all sentient beings, and one cultivates compassion and love towards all sentient beings, so that if we were thinking of only like sentient beings who were our relatives or came from the same area or the same country, and then other sentient beings throughout the world, one was unconcerned for them, that would be incorrect in relationship to this meditation. And then if we consider sentient beings that are not humans, such as insects and animals and so forth, that if we were indifferent and unconcerned for them, that would be unsuitable, that in the light of this meditation.
Chanchugi sim chuma mayan pachi da tere lamsa ke chocho da yo marte yena tende samlo kor tende chi nechu sawa chi kotso bache tende nechu sawa chi kotso bache ta na shinge tanda kishilane tamba korange de suba na shinge de nganzo chi de molam da wachi kya prava samlo da molam kya to chino ko bhaja sha shirwa ra bhaja shagri ane ta tende tsetu la tende sambari ne tseme la pe 고아치를 용해야 되네. 근데 아직도 잠바 semji 답절라 잠바다 인제 고음을 배 가제 직 아말레 시라 타를 줘야 되네 용거래. 안 때려 맞다. 되게 개벨레 배 시오지 배 손음 전부 싸고 와. 난 겨지 말았다 배틀이냐. 그래서 난 다시 사주했으면 직접만 많이 배기하게 고가부터 다 되네. 용세계에 되네 갈래 다 사제 공부해야 될 수 용세계와 그래서 저는 남의 마담바치는 지도죠 소소페 대라지 나와다도나 아다라시 남주 말람다 접투스네 야부터 남주에 남주 다처럼 마치 하고래 아주 마치 콘서트 로준 세계 마디 남주 간도체 폐지 폐지 마치면 간도치기 요래 하고 Krishna whatever the Chiotus, what I should have put that to Serva.
Okay. So that one, to generate a genuine non-artificial spirit of enlightenment, bodhicitta, is not a quick thing. That if we think of these verses by Langri Tampa and think that this is a new way of thinking, that we are beginning something new, and to think about these words and generate aspiration and prayer to this practice, and by reciting it we place imprints on the mind, then when we do this earlier in life, then our understanding goes stronger later in life, so that we generate much stronger compassion and love, and we accumulate a very powerful virtue and merit positive potential. And through that, then in future lives, one will have the opportunity to generate a non-artificial, authentic bodhicitta, spiritual of enlightenment, and through that one will slowly come to attain Buddhahood. So not treating the kind of the words, the verse with indifference, but to recite the words and to generate the aspiration and prayer. And I know for many of you, you do it as a daily recitation, and that's extremely good. So this is the explanation of the meaning of the first verse.
어떻게 다데네 솔로가니바데 간두스다 토베스 다니군의 멘타시시도
Yes.
다니군의 멘타 신라 삼바토베 초도 제벌지 마쇼 세드리 다디 시디 야치 갑도 다네테스 남비마도 바바절라다 데케버 시라기 데케바도 말에 노초발도 다네 갑도 다네 베테스 셈바테스 밥 카포도 오죠레
Yes.
근데 티 가르스 시디 가르스 때 나게 맞 나게 제요 말스 돈다 디레와
Yes.
나게 제요 말스 돈다 디레 남준의 소소다 미수다 투바이나 소수직배 나게 맞아 받지는지 메사도 소스는 면도지
Yes.
파쇼로 그바도 위치에 스페마치 나게 지네 신다도 미신바되게 되라 통중다 통중된데 제요 말세요 어디 나게디 가르스나 장주 셈다가 장주기 셈다 가와래 되어와 간다래 되어 nga chi chi san pa jo de la thong chu chi de na ko pa jo sim je shen la che de khar so mera pa ba so ra chi de ko men ti chi ne nyep che ba no ko cha ju sim da ka wa ta ta do de ko ba ta de this si ko ma to chi ge yan shen ma to so so chi shi wu chi nga pe ke wo shi wu chi san ne pe chi po pa la ko ya re po pa la ko re this si ko ma ta wa ta de ya ko this
Yes. Yes. Okay. So then the next verse, when I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest among all and respectfully hold others as being supreme from the depths of my heart. And I just say, I've seen His Holiness translate lowest as insignificant. So in this verse for Tibetans, they this kind of, they don't kind of differentiate this verse in a strong way, but for Westerners' minds, it's important to differentiate between pride and confidence. So this verse is focused on not giving rise to pride, that whoever we meet, that we should not consider ourselves with pride in meeting them. We should be humble and regard others with respect. We should not look down on others as inferior, because pride runs counter to the spirit of enlightenment, to bodhicitta. That if we have a very high, proud opinion of oneself and then we look down on others as inferior or disparage them, that is contradictory to the spirit of enlightenment, bodhicitta. But this is not saying that we should give up self-confidence. So we always need self-confidence.
레로스는 기루벨로 치쇼벨로다 치쇼를 기루벨로 지바르다 대가라는 슈벨로 한테가라 자왕의 시기로 쓰기와 레로데 수부 간호 제바나 수수안에 미유데 된다도 되게는 요마르와 대수가 레로스인데 방안에 안에 준비 잠고레스다 세와 어두스레 당 미술라인에 심진 수르지네 코텔라 지 tat nachuna la dishi pere sangye rongki regi yore segore ta tante sangye thuegi nupayo na ta shembat lega ta kare na ko ta chi lela wata uchirwa ke lela uchirwa udu sigi wate ta techi ta popa koya te ke chimba ta namjongan zu chi tengi chawa ta chi na iko 미팅에 투사 말에서 내가 가리나 골롭준 체하다 보시는 이 투사 말에 삼바요나 아니 고 내가 지금 좀 돼도 지금 면도 앞에 손게 하지는 거 당보 뽑아지고라 손게 밀로 맨 손게 도 말로 알아.
Okay, so that self-confidence is having that confidence of thinking, I am able to do this. This is kind of within my capacity. That within a Buddhist teachings, we need self-confidence, that the opposite to self-confidence is the laziness of despising oneself or low self-esteem. So this is a form of laziness. So there are 3 forms of laziness: of procrastination, of despising oneself, of low self-esteem, and attraction to harmful activities. And so any of these 3 forms of laziness prevent us from accomplishing what we wish. And so the advice is to cultivate joyous effort and abandon laziness. So that, and that if we think that whoever a sentient being is, from the Buddhist perspective, one has the potential to attain Buddhahood. One has Buddha nature, the potential to attain Buddhahood. And if we realize this, then everything else can be accomplished easily, that we can have this sense of self-confidence. Whereas if we, even in ordinary life, if we had the focus, oh, I couldn't do that, whether it's study, if we're trying to study something and we feel we can't do it, we are unable to accomplish it, or even business and sales, if one doesn't have self-confidence, one can't do this. So self-confidence is something we need.
Cholam Kaduina, Chivama, Chimon Drebe Captain, Lekana Drebe Captain, Modern Susuna Simne, Susu Sim Karchik, Taji Chena, Hoyores, Atujara, Tigala Tajik, Tigalan, that and the condition, Shiren, I yes, Seatota, Tato Seatota, that was Shana Tonchun Taji, some pet Tobachimpuchin, Shengi, Kuno Longjuna, Sobaina, Data, Caritone, Shenlape, Shengi, Chik. Sim Chimbuche Yorwada,
Nos.
Tende Chabayana Tati, Tati, Numo Tiki Kebayana, and Tiki around the Shen Samalachik Magiba Soya. He can get living in Basach and Nikiwachima Mambola Tonga Yongo to Sorba, Chesa, Chonam Kunduranjula Toshin Yumakima Tas. Tashi Moran Chebana sent up to an top show study be Sude Peggy Cholam. 지 년반 연모도 있겠네 대치기도 하거나 대 앞에 도야가 탑시 제세도 오지마 다대 연답 돈에 도야 세대 답네 하고서는 룽 나고네 룽 야마다 지네요 나고네 룽 야마 룽 장가잡네 룽 가서 장가 룽 나고네 룽 다데 장가잡지네 파타 수다 세당서 남녀도 룽고 두고 비세야죠 디레다 룽고 두고 비세야들이 we yabane pa tanduala so the you pena tango ya tatolo so the kede ne tigeti pa twana pena bama tani pa yes on sameche and lu na we yombane yabane chulung chutenduala sanje de chanchu semba tu ge chelap tu chi ka be na barangi na ko ne ma chin charangi ngala thimsung same tadi mi pa chetuna ya warte tende mi pa chem tende mi pa chane or tende mi pa pasum susum to sedo tigale tichine ya mi pa phaje na ko yeba ne pa tandu wala to na pe na patane tanda chi karsote se marom ba tege te chi nam don yamba to patane pa to yes nam kale yes un se ta tane yomba ne chu tandu wala a sanje ta chenju se ma ta tarangi chi kibe shi lo so patun so Chilapto to yoga when a patron ranking in Calatina ranking Kuchi Lapson Same, or to Sinea Sunche, Tenepa, Nikane Patang, 야니가는 줄래. 담이바 치다지 바래와.
Yes.
어두시네 롱고도 거메 대수가 두시다. 아니 샘데 삼단도 갑자기 공동하게 차도 깨도라 신고 라메 먹고 시대여와.
Yes.
시대여를 때 무슨 균토고 말해와.
Yes.
나한테 양자 미빠들이랑 제도면 나고는 롱동티 찍볼라베 샘기 얘기 장가겠네와.
Yes.
가수진 예수시 뉴스사직 장가겠다. 다가란 게 되게 요소 거래와.
Yes.
지금
Yes.
배미가 참아도 어디디 센터도는 도바쇼 세대 어디도.
Yes. So the this purpose of the second verse is to not give rise to pride, seeing that pride is counter to bodhicitta and is an obstacle to generating bodhicitta. This is the meaning of this verse. And then the third verse is this very important advice. In all actions, I will learn to search into my own mind, and as soon as an afflictive emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. So that in general, whatever activities we're doing, whether it's going to work or walking, staying, whatever we're doing, we should be checking on our mind, seeing what arises to identify if afflictive emotions such as pride, jealousy, regarding others as inferior, or strong desire, so that we strongly covet the wealth and resources of others, so that we are checking whether these afflictive emotions arise in our mind or not, because if they arise, then they will bring unhappiness to both self and others, and can act as a condition for negative karmic action to be created that will bring us suffering over many lifetimes. And so that in whatever activities we are doing, we check on what is arising in our mind. And if we see that afflictive emotion is arising, then we firmly face and avert it. And this forceful method is refers to the focus on the breath, the counting of the breath out and in of the nostrils. And one form of this is the 9-round breathing, so that the first cycle is on thinking on that one is breathing out through the left nostril, and that all afflictive emotion, jealousy, anger, and so forth goes out as a black smoke from the left nostril and dissolves into space. And then one thinks that on the breath in, it is coming in through the right nostril, and that it comes in as a form of white light that is the blessings of the body, speech, and mind of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And so one repeats that visualization 3 times, and then it's the same visualization, but in the second 3 cycles, you think that the breath is going out of the right nostril, and that all disturbed and afflicted minds and concepts go out as a black smoke and dissolve into space, and that the breath is you bring in through the left nostril, and again that is a white light that is the blessings of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and one's teachers, and that this comes down to one's heart and blesses one's mind. And that having done that 3 times, then you do the same visualization, but thinking that the breath comes in through both nostrils and goes out through both nostrils. So that if we can focus the mind like this, then naturally there is a pacification of anger, attachment, jealousy, and so on, that they are not able to arise with that visualization. But even if one is not able to visualize in that way, just the focus on the coming and going, the in and out of the breath, that can be enough. And you can count it, for example, to 21 times. This is also a suitable practice. So these are the forceful methods, or the firm averting.
어떻게 다들 남기 다들 엔다 연삼삼에 연미 가시 고랑 소소에 공시 개발했지 나로 엄마네 배매고 세야도 나로 어떻게 쉬지야 되나 대갑도 오동 좀 이제야 가시 많이 장사하게 되는데 요래와
Yes.
아니 배매서 많이 가시 장사다 고 가래나 고디 다다 콘동아예 서 봐줘들지 셈 두자 게데와 고 디마송 삼네 고 만에 당고 걸봐 다 디마스 다가랑기 고디 만에 가시 당하시다가 되게 안에 팬도 그렇고 고디 이 셈데 고 시도 그래 매바체 남주야 고디게다 남주나 시페 빠지 뇽무 기기와 하고 공동아제 타돌어서 기기와 하고 나이고 밑에는 콘도산에 찍도 tel라 더나 맞제바이나 다 좋은 순서라도 봐.
Los.
순서라도 봐.
Okay, so that and then for some people through familiarity with practice can find useful to recite mantra as the antidote. For example, some people may focus on the breath and recite Om Mani Padme Hum as a mantra as the antidote. And again, that this pacifies the arousal of afflictive emotion. And this is based on seeing that there is a fault in giving rise to attachment or anger, pride, that that if we know afflictive emotion arises in our mind and yet pay no attention to it and just let it continue, for example, continually for anger to arise, then this kind of brings a loss or a fault to oneself, the disadvantage we experience ourselves.
How to start? Cholam kundu ranju la toching se dita tochita. Namju ne susu cholam karachikido. Dita dita namju. Adi kechimbuchi wata namju anzo. Tachidami tenderashira chetuwa marvambatu. Te shibuchi ta kechimbuchi. Te chebayina mituni chebayina ko rangshingi midi ko gyuwa drote chirwa. Gyuwa drote ni pimi mama mi tesichik. Semaroba yubache chingmila chingdawache. Kanjumanju she tegenda watanchi kanjumanju ching. Techene kwa paradela pa kome ke mirang shingi ko chobal ko gyudre de tate ta chönyamle ta ngoma chönyamle ngoma chese de ta tenzor barwa. Namje tamado chi nga zo namje chi dombada che dewen chi molam dawje kyaw to sera ta de ta tenzor ta chidang ko ti chönyamle chege ta yela dor de chönyamle ngoma chese de ta susu semla 슈다타는 수수주기 다지 공동하게 타도 도착을 써봐 다든지 요노 다한테 다 정념내 뭐마 이도스 다 시대에 데려왔다 유모도에 다 정념내 뭐마 데려왔다.
Okay, so that this checking on one's mind in whatever activities one is doing is very important. That if we check in this way, then this is the basis for change for a person. That someone who previously their mind may have been kind of very rough and unsuitable and inconsiderate in their actions, that this is a way that their actions and mind can change. And if we this is the actual Dharma practice, that when we recite or make prayers and so on, these are the branches of practice, but the actual practice is to subdue our own mind, to decrease the arousal of attachment, pride, anger, and jealousy.
Ranshingi besimchana tidu tabino rinchente de tabashi nyabarkabe jizin sho sayade ta tunda tenzo te karse warsana taji mi pacho lamsanchi mi long sabado yewa taan tawaji wachi susula pe chi lamsanchi kondolang cho yungada chayata wa tende yungare yaa chi tamida yungara ba ta tende ta tende ta treba ina sawara ranshingi besimchana tidu tabino tonsashi Ranshingi tidu tabino rinchente de tabashi ta taana shingi yamena kansa kashi tipe kange shibish chedero kange shibish pene simjenda wachina nebada wayina da taana shingi chigi ta chimazu lamkala kido tinde na da kange kalamarane pe kange chedero da tinde sta today that's all that
Nos.
or today that tell us about it that today to suna and to do that tenzola pa ro chene pe telepa di chet ba ina ti ta renchente da tabashin ya ba ga chene ta do ta namju ma zo sosola khondro langen ra ta to che namju pe cholam su bu jene te to ne te pe telepa ti pa ko pa ko lai pa ya bu che da te ta yu ga kyone ti sam marwa
Nos.
ata tende sambaye na kota renchente de teba na shire so ta digi dila namju ji pa chamba de ni je kome de shibji khabore de wa
Nos.
kesi kom thoba tende pa tanzula di che thoba na ane susu gewa de ta shibji ya phedu ya cha wa wa du se ta de renchente de teba shin ya ba ke we che ze shu se ta namju ne te nambe shu na she de ya ta ji 미세기 강에 태도 태태가 그렇게 저거 단신의 제바이나 아니 개와 쉘 제발에 거기 켜버도 봐봐줘요.
Nos.
다 된다 되래.
Okay, so then we'll look at the next verse. We're not going to be able to complete it today, but looking at, so we'll come back to it in the next Sunday session. The fourth verse, I would cherish beings of bad nature and those oppressed by strong negativities and sufferings as if I had found a precious treasure very difficult to find. So in terms of those of bad nature, it refers to if we were to kind of meet people who are by nature very angry or quickly given rise to quickly become angry, or meeting various people with difficult natures. And then the other side of this is those who are oppressed by strong suffering, that they themselves are going through very strong suffering, such as illness, or someone who's just on the roadside lacking food and shelter and so on, not getting their needs for life, that if we can help them, then our help for them means that they were as if we had found a precious treasure. Because we would say from Buddhist, in Buddhist texts in general, as regards those people who are very angry or very rough in their actions, to wish them well is very difficult. But if we are able to, then they become like a precious treasure. Because if we are, while cultivating love and compassion towards them is very difficult, if we are able to do that, that is a very kind of powerful virtuous action, and thus those beings are like a precious treasure. Or that if they are beings who are undergoing extreme difficulties and we can help them in those difficulties, then the virtue of that assistance is particularly kind of powerful or noble. Loss. Okay, so we're good. Okay, so this is in brief the meaning. So I think we'll stop here. If there are any questions, or people can always email questions in later, and otherwise we'll stop here. Oh, so many Dandroma Dun Madun. I'm not sure what the time is.
Mane romantis döner tisareta tis
No, there's two.
tis shawa da hibaminderwa.
Lots.
Samchen stat masaya basaya samchen chi lojemala chi ne mutune mandroya ta mautora sopat zume wa ta ne Mountain support me and that she there was that join of a disaster.
No, those.
My chulo the church support that is the mobile.
Remember that.
That the my chitonzo Bremet Sangachi de Tijela and money payment series 6 to Genesis 1 that name the Gigan that the canal to an enemy Tondo Mambodwa.
Lolo.
Janet Perla and again is to the Kodo to the Pavest and Jutanal Perlata Canalata be Mambo Telecar Vanich. What that is the Chitu Ching of the Koranze Tondo against the Chit, give us some bochic leg Chido. That Tondo in Kawaina Yorva, that was simply to the give us some more like Chitu Money payment Stana Mare.
Los. Okay, so we'll do the mantra recitation. So first for the pacification of in the coming year for the pacification of the pandemic and for wars and fighting to cease, and also for disasters, natural disasters of floods, relating to the elements of water and fire, floods and fire and so on, that these may be pacified. So for that, we first recite the Tara mantra, and then after that we do the Om Mani Padme Hum, which, because in this time of the pandemic there are many who die, and particularly in this time there are many people dying in China, and then also in the Tibetan news still many Tibetans are dying due to the pandemic, but even greater numbers in China. And then for anyone who has died in this time, that may they take a good rebirth.
All right, yeah. What to see that? Daye Zero Devela to some Saja Kunjitilema, Shaja Chuni, Yungiro Pena, Venala Chasan, Om Tare to Tare to Reso, Om Tare to Tare, Om Tare to Tare to Reso, Om Tare to Tare to Reso, Om Tare to Tare to Reso, Om Tare to Tare to Reso. Om Tare Tare
Toreso.
Om 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 Tare Om Tare
Toreso.
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 Om Tare Om Tare
Toreso.
Om Tare
By the force of my offerings and requests to you in the land and directions where I and others dwell, please quell all disease, poverty, fighting, and quarrels, and may all that is Dharma and all that is auspicious increase.
Kyunki ma kokundo ka so sanke kiyola toje chingi dola chere singla chansu. Om mane peme, mane peme. Om mane peme hu, om mane peme. Om mane peme. Om mane peme hu, om mane peme. Om mane peme hu, om mane peme. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme. Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Mani Padme. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme. 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 Om Mani Padme. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme. 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 Om Mani Padme. Yawadi Yududa Chiri Swa Dujun Roma Chikama Lupa Te Sala Govar Shu.
It's a short mandala. By directing to the field of Buddhas, this mandala is blended with a base of flowers, saffron, water, and incense. Adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, sun and moon, may all sentient beings be led to this field. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kanirya Tayami.
Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kanirya Tayami. From
my two collections, vast space that I have amassed from working with Evid at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose mind wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete great paths of teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing well. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the point path as I have discerned them. May I uphold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. My heart going out with great compassion in whatever directions the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may expose this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By this gradual path to enlightenment, completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their spiritual children. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may he or she always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. May the precious supreme mind of bodhicitta not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. May the precious mind of renunciation not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. May the precious ultimate view of emptiness not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their example.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good, everyone. So for those who are doing Wednesday class, it will start this week. If anyone didn't get the root text, flick me an email and I'll send it to you.